Breathe a sigh of relief, Dodger fans. The Dodgers have won a playoff game for the first time in what feels like forever. We will dive into game one of the NLDS here. Shohei Ohtani makes his postseason debut in a huge Shohei Ohtani fashion. My name's Ryan Bershinger. He is Beau Benson. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodgers Zone. Let's get into it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. The Dodgers Zone.
That's strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
The sickest LA Dodgers podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Look at that, Beau. Never concerned, right? Like,
I need the didn't get swept 2024 banner.
Yes.
Unfurling behind me right now. The audience should imagine that.
Avoided disaster 2024.
Yeah. Almost.
So far, we've avoided disaster. So let's dive into this game here. Because obviously we got a big game coming up. This is going to come out on Sunday morning. So
hopefully,
we'll.
It'd be very funny if this came out after game two.
Right. But to at least get one at home, I think is huge, especially given the way that the last two postseasons have gone for the Dodgers, especially with the Padres coming into town as hot as they've been. To start this off in such a great way. This is a very strong overall team win. And to get the series started off on a right note is hugely affirming, because if this game went the opposite way, I think we as Dodger fans instantly go into doom and gloom. Like, we're like, this is a sweep, the season's over. So to get a win and to have a ton of positives come out of it as well, I think is a great sign for this series to come. It sets the tone in really a phenomenal fashion, and it's very, very exciting, and it settles us down a lot.
I don't know if a lot is the word I would use, but definitely some issues are quelled. I'm gonna be honest with everybody listening. I did not see the first 3 innings of this game because I was watching Beetlejuice.
So it was it's Beau's fault.
Yeah, kind of. But when I
Yeah.
did start paying attention, the Dodgers tied it and then untied it and then went ahead again. It's good to get the win, but I still feel like kind of my concerns with how this postseason would go still exist a little bit, simply because Yamamoto did not do his job to start the game. Like, you gotta give me at least 2 innings clean in the post, buddy.
Let's dive into Yamamoto's start, because I think that there was a lot going on here. I think in terms of what we saw from Yamamoto, I think it really came down to nerves, because he honestly didn't have terrible stuff. It was still a fine start. He had fine stuff overall. I wouldn't call it a fine start, but his stuff was not bad. The problem is that his breaking stuff, the Padres were smartly laying off of a lot of it. And he would kind of over adjust and then lift the breaking stuff up. And that's what happened with Machado's home run. That's what happened with the Bogarts double.
I wonder if there's some concern there with him tipping pitches to the Padres, because that seems to be something they've done all year with him.
Well, yes and no. I mean, this was his worst start since the first start of the season.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we can compare the two situations, right? That was his major league debut. And sure, it was not here in America, but it was in on a gigantic level. It was the first game of the season. Like, he was viewing it as his major league debut, and he came into it and got rocked. So I think maybe the nerves were something that was getting to him. This situation was his first playoff outing ever, in front of a gigantic crowd in a game one of a series where there was a lot of tension. Like, we as Dodger fans all feel that. Coming into this series, of course, there's a ton of excitement with Shohei and high expectations, but at the same time, a lot of tension. And you could sense that from the crowd tonight. There were times where they were hesitant to fully get into it, especially in the beginning of the game. Once the Padres started hitting, it was like, oh boy, here we go again. And that kind of reflected then onto Yoshi. And so I think he didn't, his fastball was rather effective, and he was not getting hits off of his fastball. In fact, he was getting a lot of foul tips and some swing and misses. They were not squaring up his fastball. John Smoltz, who I typically don't like, pointed out a couple of really strong observations, especially for one saying, like, look, the Padres are not squaring up his fastball. That shows that it's a pretty dominant pitch. But they are laying off of his breaking stuff smartly. And once he kind of had to adjust and put that into the zone, that's where he got hit. So I feel fine with Yoshi going forward, because I think he needed this outing to get that experience, to shake off the nerves a bit. And now when he comes back out, we've seen him pitch in big games this season. We'll go back to the Yankee start. He was dominant in Yankee Stadium.
And that's the guy I want to see. Yeah, that's the guy I want to see. Yeah. It does. My concern is, I think, something we've mentioned before, but just the starting pitching has been so bad for so long. Like, really genuinely bad. Like, the fact that they still won 98 games is insanely funny.
Yeah.
And the bullpen has been so worked. And then tonight, the bullpen went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 innings, 5.5 innings tonight. That's a lot of work for a pin, and that's game 1 of the NLDS. But it is, I guess, this is the fun little live reaction show, I guess. But I think game 1 is kind of a microcosm of the issue I've had with this series. Because, I mean, you and Monty know I genuinely thought, I think the Padres are going to win the series. Game 1 doesn't really change that. But, like, all going into the series, you had, 22 people at ESPN pick the Padres?
Yeah.
And, all that, and yeah, they're so hot. But like we mentioned before, the second hottest team in baseball was the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone wants to talk about Dylan Cease and how good he's been. He was just as ineffective as Yamamoto was tonight, if you want to use that phrase. Mm-hmm. He was not good tonight either. So I think this series is a lot closer than people want it to be.
Right.
It's just 2 really good teams. That's all. And you can't really take a grand swing or a grand statement away from any game in this series, but it's good to get win. It's good to get the win in the first game at the end of the day. But I think this whole series, this is going to be a 5-game series, I think, after tonight.
Yeah. And I think that's possible. And I think that, quite frankly, I think the Dodgers would have an advantage in a 5-game series.
Yeah, I think so too. If it goes 5, I think they would too. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple things there. One, in terms of Cease's performance. Yeah, I think we'll get into
did you just see the Mike Schilt quote?
Exposition? What? No, I didn't. What?
You didn't see that? Yeah, he said. No. He said Freddie wasn't moving. They said Freddie wasn't moving good, but he plays possum and stole a bag on us. That's a little.
That's awesome. No, Mike Schilt rules. It was a masterclass from Mike Schilt tonight. It was a
duel of 2 guys that wanted to lose more. It really was
Roberts only had one questionable decision, and that was using Kopech in the 8th instead of Treinen in that slot. And we could talk about that now. We're jumping around the game a little bit, but we can talk about that. That part of the order really should be Treinen. That it was the top coming up, or was it the heart of the order at the time? It was Profar,
the heart of the order at the time.
Yeah, it was Profar, Machado, Merrill. That should be Treinen, especially in the 8th inning. And then if Treinen gets those outs easily, you've got Kopech going against the bottom of the order. You feel really good about that because this is also Kopech's first time in a postseason game. And he looked like he was somebody who was instantly way too hyped up for it,
all which stuff was high up in the zone. Yeah.
And that's kind of, he rides on vibes. He's very much a very high energy pitcher who has incredible velocity that he just lets it ride. And if he's feeling confident, he's just going to throw that like crazy. But that does have a tendency to backfire a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we did see that tonight. And then he had to go to Treinen early. And Treinen was able to get out of it. It got a little scary there in the 9th, but Blake is a veteran, and Blake is pitching as well as he ever has. Really, he's been phenomenal for the last month or 2 plus now. So just an incredible performance overall by the bullpen. Ryan Brazier was great first man out.
And they were pretty shut down the entire game outside of the last couple innings there. Yeah.
Right. And this is, again, a manager's as good as their bullpen. Dave was pushing the right buttons. He was going to guys at the right times. They would come and finish an inning and come back out for the next. I thought it worked really well. Vesia looked great. Phillips did a great job. So yeah, I really, the only questionable decision was to use Treinen there in the 8th. Use Kopech over Treinen in the 8th. Back to Mike Schilt, who pulls Dylan Cease after 3 2/3 innings, in a situation where he pulled him before intentionally walking Mookie, right? Yes, because he brought in the lefty to pitch to Ohtani, which, understandable, of course. And then Ohtani gets the broken bat single. And then Mookie gets to 2-2.
It was 2-2 on Mookie, and he decided to walk in.
There's a passed ball, and Mike Schilt says, put him on first.
Yeah.
Even though we've already got 2 strikes on a guy who has 2 postseason hits dating back the last 3 years now or something. So hopefully the immense respect that Mike Schilt gave Mookie, because he intentionally walked him again later on.
Yeah.
Hopefully that kind of helps Mookie remember, hey, I'm the guy here. This is remember earlier in the season when Ohtani got intentionally walked with a runner on first ahead of him, and then Mookie came up and homered. Hopefully this is the thing that kind of sparks Mookie a bit, because his at-bats where he did swing weren't great. But he did get on base 3 times. So, hey, can't complain about that.
Honestly, yeah, no one looking at the lineup, nobody really had a bad game tonight.
No.
I mean, you want to see more from Mookie just because of who he is, but yeah, I guess if you want to nitpick, Max did not have a good evening, but he shouldn't have to.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah. The
Dodgers should be able to afford Max Muncy having an off night, and they did tonight.
I think the Padres had a strong approach with Yamamoto, in that they were a little more patient on him, and it worked because he did look kind of nervous. The Dodgers had a good approach with Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease is a very good pitcher, and they worked him like crazy.
Yeah.
And that, I think, bodes incredibly well for this series. The Padres got into the Dodgers bullpen early, but the Dodgers also got into their bullpen early.
And that's going to be the key for the Dodgers winning the series, is if they can get to the bullpen early and often.
Yeah. Because they had to use Jason Adam a lot tonight, who was very effective. When Morahone was the lefty that they went to, who came in, and at first it looked like he had some good stuff. He nearly hit Ohtani with a pitch, and he seemed oddly proud of himself. And I was like, oh, this fucker, they better he's got to take this guy down. And that, so he ended up giving up a run. So that was good. I think he's the losing pitcher tonight, technically.
He is. Yes.
Okay. Good.
He is.
Good.
He's currently scored as a losing pitcher. Yes.
Nice. We've gone 13 minutes now, and we haven't talked about the fact that Shohei Ohtani homered in this game.
Well, that's the closing argument for this one.
Yeah. It's incredible, because what's wild about that too is that the pitch before he hit into his knee, to make Ohtani even more impressive. He was nursing the ball that he had drilled directly onto his kneecap. Literally 10 seconds prior to that, stepped back in and hit it off the bat. He knew it, celebrated like crazy. And what's funny too is that was a line drive home run, which we don't see from him often. That barely got over the wall. But it's amazing that he knew off the bat that was gone, because that only cleared the fence. It got right into the first row of seats in right field. Yeah. So it scraped the wall a little bit, and if that hit off the wall, it would have been kind of embarrassing. But he knew the second that it was gone.
It was beautiful. I think I saw it was 111 off the bat. So that was he knew.
And this is just, I mean, what more can you ask for? This is, we the postseason debut of Ohtani that everyone wanted. He came up in a huge spot, which, by the way, credit to Gavin Lux had singled to get on. The bottom of the order today was excellent.
I mean, Lux saved the game.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't forget about that.
Yeah. Lux had a diving catch in the ninth that was fantastic. Rojas had a great over-the-shoulder catch there in the eighth.
Scared the shit out of me.
To help them get out of that.
Yeah.
The bottom of the order, Tommy Edman had that bunt single to really get things going in the fourth inning. And then obviously moving up the order, Teoscar Hernandez, the guy that we've been saying all along is going to be a huge contributor in the postseason, and came up with a 2-out, 2-run hit to put the Dodgers ahead, and that was it. So this is the big thing. If the offense performs like they did tonight, they're going to go far. And that's really all it comes down to. Because again, like Yamamoto did not have his best stuff tonight, but it was clear that the nerves were just kind of getting to him there. And having the bullpen step in the way that they did and shut them out, especially in the middle innings, it was a great overall team win. So I'm very, very happy with the way the series has started.
The Ohtani home run was magnificent. Even better was the Twitter reaction by Padres fans who were mad about baseball and baseball writers being excited to watch Shohei Ohtani in the postseason. It's crazy to me. Like, I don't know, dude. A couple years ago, all we got was Tatis alerts. So like, that's how it is. I'm sorry.
People complain about how Major League Baseball struggles at promoting their stars and promoting the game. And tonight they had the biggest star in the world in their sport make his postseason debut and hit a home run. And Padres fans didn't understand why, like, like major baseball personalities are like hyping that up. Why that Fox was teasing every time he was going to come up the next inning. It's brilliant. You should be. That's the only reason how the business works.
That's the only reason any casual fan would tune in is because they want to see Ohtani. I'm sorry. And they also, like, there were some that were mad that Joe Davis was calling the games. And like, again, did you flip out when Vin Scully called national games? Like,
right.
It's just how it is. He's a great announcer, and he's very unbiased.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what. Again, 2 years ago, the national media was fucking falling over themselves to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. So like, that's why Passan said it, but like, that's why you're a little brother to people.
Yeah.
Like, you got to stop acting like that.
That was good.
And then did you see what that guy responded to him with?
No.
Oh, I'll tell you when we're done recording.
Oh boy. it's that bad. Wow. So yes, overall, I think a tremendous win. Like honestly, for that game to go the way that it did, like there were a couple times where the Padres started to get guys on late in the game, and it was kind of natural for me to be like, oh God, Jurickson Profar is about to tie this game.
Oh yeah, dude, I thought for sure.
Like, that's the exact thing that
Machado with Trinan having thrown like 40 pitches.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this shit's going into Mannywood.
Yeah. Which, thank God, Machado had the 3-run home run in the first, and then proceeded to gift the Dodgers a run by just taking a routine grounder and throwing it into the camera well. that was hilarious. So that is the Manny Machado experience, by the way. just like, that's what it's like. But yeah, no, I very happy with the way that this game went. I think in terms of your concerns about how much the bullpen was used, because I did see people mention that, but also they haven't pitched in a week, and they're going to have a day off after game 2. I think that especially in a 5-game series, once you have a lead, you have to attack it.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And it's not wrong. It's just deep in my heart of hearts. That's my concern.
Yeah.
That is my concern. I'm actually less concerned about the offense coming out of this game than I was going into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just the more that pin has to work. Like if Flaherty could go 6 strong tomorrow, that would be great. Who's starting for the Padres tomorrow? Michael King?
Darvish.
Oh, he's back?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
All right.
I know. I'm surprised. Because I expected.
When was the last time he pitched?
Probably the last week of the season.
That's crazy.
Guess. I think he got. I think Joe Davis mentioned he had started a few games in September.
I honestly had no idea that Yu Darvish was still pitching, to be honest with you. That's crazy.
Yeah, and this is the impact of them losing Joe Musgrove as well. Which
okay, so
I'm not gonna celebrate an injury. That's terrible.
No,
again, Joe Musgrove's gonna be probably gone until 2026. But also, hey, that happens, guys. Sorry, Padres fans.
No, that's interesting. It's interesting now that
Sorry, that happens. I don't know what to tell you. I was surprised that it's not King in game 2, but because I thought game wise, I thought he pitched Monday, right? Is when the wild card series had started for them.
So yeah.
And he looked great in that game. So that's interesting. And because it also kind of, I would think, would take him out of the running of really throwing in game 5 at all. Maybe an inning of relief, but interesting. Well, I guess such is the Mike Schilt experience. That's people forget he, there's reasons why he didn't stick around in St. Louis. He's not a great manager. So let's close this just to we haven't really talked about also Freddie Freeman, by the way. Freddie Freeman, who had more hits tonight than he did in the entirety of their postseason series last year.
That's the other banner that's going to unfurl behind me when you add it in post.
Footnote on the banner.
Freddie Freeman did better this year than he did last year.
And he's on one leg, so
Well, unless he's playing possum.
Yeah. Apparently he's faking. Apparently that was just all a big song.
Dude, does Mike Schilt know that Dave isn't smart enough to fake that? Giving him way more credit than he needs.
I don't think that would matter. You know what I mean? It's different than dangling the health of your starting pitcher that day. I understand that Freddie Freeman is a significant bat in the lineup, but what's the point of pretending that, I don't know, maybe he's going to play, maybe he's not. Yeah. You're still going to have to pitch to mostly the same lineup. It's not. And secondly, also, the Dodgers would be in a lot of trouble if he didn't, if they were pretending that he had an injury, because I don't know, gambling markets it's a very real thing now. That's that actually matters more than what Mike Schilt thinks that the Dodgers are going to do. It's what the books do. But yes, no, Freddie had a couple great at bats, a couple big hits. That was awesome to see. And as I mentioned earlier, just the back half of the lineup really producing. I thought Gavin Lux looked very confident and very collected in his at bats. So I think he could be actually really a key piece to especially in the back part of the order. And if he's playing defense that well too, it's going to be a great contribution, hopefully. Just the only thing. Gavin. The only thing is just Mookie getting it right, and hopefully tonight was a step in the right direction. He had a couple at bats where he just wasn't allowed to swing, so he's already. It's possible. I don't think he got on base 3 times in the last postseason series too. So one more footnote to the banner. Mookie Betts has already got a higher on base than he did last time. So. All right, so game 2, Jack Flaherty, Yu Darvish. If the Dodgers take game 2, it feels like a stupid thing to say, but it puts them in an incredible position, right? You'll really feel comfortable about this series if they can start with a 2-0 lead. And honestly, it helps you feel really comfortable about the playoffs as a whole, because again, the Padres are playing really as good as anyone. They've been the hottest team in the league in the second half. And if the Dodgers can come out of this series, and if they do so in pretty commanding fashion, they can beat anyone.
Yep.
So a great start. 1 down, 10 to go. So,
It's a lot, dude.
that's a lot. But hopefully it's just 11 because just 11
just
post-game
sweeps all the
shows
way
for us is really ideal. Just move this whole process along.
Just sweeps all the way, baby.
Yeah. All right. We'll have Monty with us next time. She had some internet issues and such as life, but we're going to try to record after every game. We're going to be with you every single step of the way. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodgers Zone. He's Beau Benson. I'm Ryan Bershinger. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, the Dodgers Zone, on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.